Used car prices have been at record highs, and we've all been patiently waiting for prices to go down. And though for the last few months prices were going down, new data shows something else. And it's not great. In today's video, we're going to be going over the July and August data for used and new car prices. That way you know exactly what's going on and you know exactly why these used car prices haven't crashed like so many of us are impatiently waiting for. And I'm going to be honest, things don't look great. So let's get started. So let's first dig into some data here. So I did talk about a little bit of this data in a previous video, so we're just gonna kind of skate across it in this one. But first, let's take a look at the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index. You can see here that this is trending down. In fact, we've seen a pretty sharp decline throughout 2022, though it's not quite as steep as the incline that we saw in 2021, it is still pretty steep nonetheless. Wholesale used vehicle prices declined 3.6% in the first 15 days of August. And the used vehicle value index fell from July to August, but it was still up 8.8% year to date. Non-adjusted price change was down 2% from July to August, leaving us up 6.6% year to date. So the data doesn't lie. Prices are in fact falling, just not quite as much as we would hope they would be. And because of the fact that prices are so inflated, falling 3 to 5% isn't quite enough to make a substantial difference in the average consumer's pocket. But unfortunately, though we are trending in the right direction, used car data shows that prices in the last month have actually inched back up, with the average used car sitting at $28,219. This of course begs the question of what is going on and why have prices not decreased like we were hoping they would be. Inflation is high, layoffs are increasing. In fact, Ford just this week announced that they would be laying off 3,000 employees in order to cut costs. And according to a recent survey, nearly 58% of Americans believe that we are currently in a recession. And sure, things like the chip shortage, inventory problems, and worldwide issues can be to blame in some regard, though they are not the bulk of the issue. Our real issues can be blamed on two different groups, the dealerships and the auto manufacturers. The reality is new cars have become unaffordable and it has turned new car buyers into used car buyers, thus squeezing out the used car market. Let's look at a few different examples and we can look at this through a few different angles. First is of course dealership greed, and this is something I've talked about a lot on my channel. Dealerships across the country are implementing insane dealer markups and insane contractual obligations for people that are wanting to buy new cars. And every time I think things can't get worse, they do in fact get worse. In fact, just this week there was reports of a 2023 Nissan Z with a nearly $75,000 dealer markup, bringing the total price to $129,000 for a car with an MSRP of $54,915. Another example is a Chevy dealership that was put on blast for charging a non-refundable deposit of $6,000 to just get the chance to own a Chevy Corvette C8, and they also applied a $90,000 over MSRP markup to the same vehicle. The Ford F-150 Lightning has gone up in price. Tesla just increased the price of their autopilot, thus increasing the value of those cars. Rivian and Chevy also increased their prices. There are dozens of different examples of makes and models that have increased their prices over the last couple of years, and this is having a massive trickle-down effect on the average used and new car buyer, as well as the car market as a whole. This is having a massive trickle-down effect to the average consumer. But I know what you guys are thinking. These dealer markups only apply to hot new cars, and if you're somebody that's just wanting an economical everyday car, you should be safe from these price increases and dealer greed, right? Wrong. Because the fact is, economical everyday cars are almost worse. Because I would argue that to an extent, a hot new car is a want and not a need. But finding an affordable car to run errands with, go to work with, or take your kids to school with, that's a need in many parts of this country, and a solid affordable new car is hard to come by today. In 2019, the base model Corolla was $19,610. Now, a base model Corolla is $20,425. Which on the surface doesn't seem like that much of an increase, but there's more to this story and more to this statistic. You see, though in 2022, the cheapest car that you can buy from Toyota is in fact a Corolla, but if we rewind time to 2019, the cheapest car you could buy from Toyota was not a Corolla, it was a Toyota Yaris. Now, you guys know how much I love Toyota Yaris's, and if you go back to 2019 and you buy yourself a brand new base model Toyota Yaris, that MSRP is going to be about $16,000. Now, unfortunately for all of us, the Toyota Yaris has been discontinued, making the Corolla the cheapest car that Toyota currently offers. So if you're somebody who's wanting to buy a brand new car from Toyota today and you are looking for the cheapest model that you offer, you are expected to pay $20,425 for that vehicle, which is 20% more than you would have had to pay for the cheapest model pre-pandemic. But this doesn't just apply to Toyota. Let's take a look at Honda. In 2019, you could buy a Honda Fit, one of Honda's cheaper base model vehicles, for around $17,000. The Honda Fit has also been discontinued. So today, the cheapest car you can get from Honda new is a Honda Civic sedan, which starts at $22,550. That means that if you are looking for the cheapest model that Honda offers today versus what they offered in 2019, you should expect to spend $5,550 more for that base model cheapest option vehicle. Now let's take a look at one more example, this time Ford. In 2019, the most affordable everyday passenger vehicle that you could buy from Ford was the Ford Fiesta. Granted, the Fiesta has questionable reliability, but it was still an affordable option, sitting at $15,235 for the base model. Today, Ford has actually taken away the Fiesta along with all of their sedans. In fact, the only vehicle you can find in the Ford lineup which is classified as a car rather than a truck, SUV, or crossover is the Mustang, which isn't really what a lot of people are looking for. This is the problem, and the decisions on the part of the manufacturer as well as the dealer is why used cars have become so incredibly unaffordable and why they've remained unaffordable over the last couple of years. Dealerships are not only greedy with their insane dealer markups, manufacturers are not only keeping prices high by keeping inventory artificially low, but the vehicle selections we have nowadays is really putting a wrench in the average consumer's plans to buy an affordable vehicle because there are simply no more affordable vehicles. You know why I love the Toyota Yaris? Because it is just a basic car. It has an aux cord, it has an AC, and it gets me to where I need to go. And granted, a Toyota Corolla is much more optioned out. It's much nicer than a Toyota Yaris, at least for the average person. But the problem is some people don't need nicer. They just need affordability. And with these decisions that manufacturers have made over the last couple of years, there are no more affordable options out there. And nearly every bare bones base model car offered by mainstream manufacturers at a decent price has been discontinued and replaced with SUVs, crossovers, or more optioned out alternatives. And sure, many people like that. Many people would opt to get that more optioned out car, but that doesn't change the reality that many people can't afford it. So if you're somebody that's looking to buy a $25,000 car, your option for a solid new car has now become significantly limited. And if you're somebody who's looking for a car that's priced under $20,000 new, your options are basically non-existent. You really have no other choice but to go used. This is part of the car market equation that I think doesn't get talked about enough, and I think that it's a huge factor in why prices have remained high. Despite the fact that there's inflation, there's lower demand, there's higher inventory, and we are in a recession, the average American has been priced out of the car market. There is a whole segment of buyers that are now forced to buy used, and this is in turn creating the squeeze that we have seen in the used car market. And sure, this isn't necessarily what started the used car price increase back in 2021, but it certainly is one of the reasons why we haven't seen prices decline more. Now, I understand that for many people, buying a car is a decision made out of preference. Which car do you want? Which options do you want? What year model are you looking for? There's a lot of preference that goes into this massive decision. But the problem is, for many people, buying a car actually isn't a matter of preference at all. It is simply a matter of budget and how much they can spend. And in today's car market, it is nearly impossible to find a new car for under $20,000, which means that these buyers that are prioritizing their budget over everything else, which is a huge chunk of buyers, are having to be forced to go into the used market. And until this changes, until there are more options for lower budget new car buyers in the market, I worry that used car prices will never go back to where they were in 2019. And until then, again, if it happens, used car prices will remain inflated. This is one of the reasons as to why, though I absolutely believe car prices are going down in the next 6 to 12 months, we will see a big dip in used car prices and new car prices. But it is why I don't think prices will ever go back to where they were in 2019, because the unaffordability of new cars is something that was recently brought into the equation in the last year and a half, and it's something that wasn't a factor back in 2019 whenever cars were much more affordable. And this is why I don't think prices will ever return to pre-pandemic levels, which really sucks. I wanted to make this video because I talk a lot on this channel about supply chain issues, the chip shortage, repossessions, subprime loans, and all of these other factors that are inevitably going to affect the car market and have been affecting the car market for the last 2 years. But this part of the equation is something I've never really talked about before. And I think that whenever you start doing your own research and you start looking at the different cars that are available from different manufacturers and their price point and options today compared to a couple of years ago, it becomes abundantly clear what is really affecting used car prices. And it's the fact that new cars are simply unaffordable to the average consumer. Like always, you guys, if you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.